r/felons. Turtleman 1878 says, "This is my brother Malcolm, who has stayed out of trouble for 10 years now." Included photo. Stenodoki says, "Good for him. Now tell him that staying out of trouble doesn't mean staying out of the dentist's office." Safatigai22 says, "Good for both of you." Oshitim Fillingat 762 says, "Respect to you Malcolm, keep on keeping on my man." Rabbit Code says, "Get that man some gold fronts for that hideous smile." Lauik says, "Bro was chewing on the bars to try and escape the entire 10 years. That shit didn't work, but it built character. Congrats on your freedom, Malcolm." Dark fucking Character says, "This is wild." Ockend-heartedness 917 says, "Congrats, that's a big deal." Alarming_tradition 51 says, "Praying for you, praying to be like you. You're my hero." National_koala 4247 says, "I know you got a better picture of him than that." Adamandorf says, "Good job Malcolm, keep it up." Lord Humongous says, "Bismarcky look-alike, well, at least the teeth." Expiradora Products says, "Frick yeah Malcolm." Swankang1 says, "Hell yeah man, I've been out since 14, haven't looked back. I've even forgotten my last prison id, that's how far gone that life is for me." Tell him to keep his head up and keep, frick, in truckin' baby. Philauser_Stein says, "The demon on his shoulder is still visible." Nalissa Kandusby Arch says, "Frick I'm sweet, I'm proud of you Malcolm. There is an entire system stacked against you, and you beat ridiculous odds, you put in the work, and you made yourself better. Your life is an example to more people than you will ever know." r/felons. Historical_highway 79 says, "Will I still get hired with this low-level felony? In 2022 I was in a super toxic relationship from both ends of the partners involved. I had suspected infidelity because every time we would get into an argument my ex would bring up that she's flirting and hooking up with other guys at work. So one night as we were leaving her apartment for her to go to work, I left the door unlocked and went back into the apartment before she came back from her shift. I really wanted to just wait there and see if she would bring anyone back. Turns out she didn't. I was dumb, and she freaked out that I was in the apartment. She then called the cops and I ended up getting a felony for ill dwelling and trespassing. Never spent time in jail though. Definitely a bunch of emotional issues from my end to do that, but I own up to it and decided to move forward in my life. However, I just got a job offer for a marketing project manager at this company under 80 people. It is a really good gig because I can intern for good pay then get on salary, but how do I disclose this to the seer? What's the best possible way to relay this? Before accepting the offer letter, I have to do a background check." Lickm2 says, "I would wait until they mention the background check and just say well there's something on there at the moment, but I'm taking care of it currently. Tell him a savvy explanation of the ending. I would keep it short and simple and focus more on your solution to rid the charge. Explain that you've never had an issue prior to that. Best of luck." Biscalay says, "Have you been convicted? Did you hire a private attorney and get a plea deal?" Binkinoctum 420 says, "It'll definitely show up. I'd say write the hiring or our manager an email explaining the scenario/situation and discussing the lessons you've learned and how you are trying to better yourself. Don't be dismissive about the charge, be honest and sincere." Socordoc says, "That is an interesting and pretty serious charge even at the misdemeanor level symptomestipens. Why were you waiting to see if she was cheating? If you snuck back into her place and knew it was wrong, then just say I messed up a little bit ago. Lose the story and just admit you frick it up. PPL make mistakes. If you tell that story to a job, they are not going to believe it. DMO99 says, well, you better come up with a better story, cause I'm not buying this one. I've got 2 felonies. Both for drugs. And one thing I know. If you aren't a criminal, and if your story holds water, no way they stick you with a felony. There is much more to this story. And you were just at the apartment. Please man. Not buying this shit. r/felons. Adventurous _sun 6241 says, felon looking for advice. In 2018, I was convicted for theft of public benefits Class C felony on a charge from 2015. No jail time, 10-year suspended sentence. I was given bad advice from my public defender and took a plea deal. I was told that I shouldn't have any trouble finding a job. The charge will drop off after the 10 years is up. If I finish my degree plan, it'll look better to the courts. If I paid all the restitution up front, I wouldn't have to serve the entire 10-year sentence. Yada yada yada. Here we are, 5 years from conviction date. I paid all of the restitution back. I now have 3 degrees, bachelor's in business administration and management, associate of it, and associates in data analytics, and I can't find a job. I've put in at least 200 applications for all different types of jobs at various locations over the past 3 years, but as soon as they find out about my record, things go south. I had received a job at a bank. They knew about my record, but 2 weeks after my start date they rescinded the offer because of my felony record. I was told that they made a mistake because they couldn't hire any felons, especially anyone with theft charges. The lady that took my place had 8 felony drug charges, 2 armed robbery charges, and 1 theft charge. I know this for a fact because I'm good friends with her sister-in-law. At this point I feel completely lost and like a huge failure. Yes, I know what I did was bad. I'm not saying it wasn't. But it is extremely discouraging to see/hear of people with multiple serious felonies getting jobs, while I keep getting turned down repeatedly. Does anyone have any advice? Ridishanotanand says, start an LLC. Become a consultant. Your knowledge of the criminal class is now put to ethical use to protect your clients. Thindrop 9293 says, public defenders lie all the time. Hannah Brown says, apply at Amazon. CW 2000 says, there's really no way around it until that record is completely expunged. I have a couple misdemeanors on my record from over 7 years ago that continue to bar me from all sorts of unemployment, both professional and otherwise, even warehouse work. It's just a completely ed up system, all there is to it. Makes life near impossible. Chemistriffin29 says, I was just skimming because of personal things, and I saw this, and honesty, if what you said is true about them not hiring you, but hiring the person with those convictions, I would sue that bank and seriously make it a sex case. They did not hire you because you are male. And sue them for all you can. Help 3394 says, apply for a pardon. Catacrime says, do you have any work experience relevant to the kinds of jobs you're applying for? This is a perennial problem for people starting out. The degree is great, but everyone wants 3 to 5 years experience, but no one will hire without it. So how can a person get experience and round? The felony conviction definitely makes it more difficult, for sure. I'm just trying to add another perspective. It's probably not all because of your conviction. And I'm not sure I have any useful advice. If you can afford to do an unpaid or low paid Hope Springs Eternal internship, that would at least give you some work experience to put on your resume. I was never in a position to be able to do such a thing, so I totally understand if it's not an option. Good luck. r/felons. Maverick7249 says, just got my felony sealed after 25 years. 25 years ago I sold a half pound of weed to an undercover cop. Of course they wanted me to work for them and set up other people and I refused, so the DA wouldn't budge on a plea deal. Could have been sentenced up to 4 years, but luckily I got a good judge, and during sentencing he chastised the tactics the cops used and told me he was sentencing me the bare minimum he was allowed, 0.6 months probation. Still, I was stuck with a felony and have lived half my life with it. I knew at the time my employment opportunities were grim, so I started my own company and was fairly successful with it for the next 20 years until I sold it. The felony did not really prevent me doing anything other than owning a gun and traveling to certain countries. But banking, having a merchant account to take credit cards, buying homes, insurance, never an issue. It's always bothered me though. I paid a hell of a lot of taxes throughout the years and in reality was and always will be a second-class citizen. So I figured screw it, I'm going to start making plans to move to Europe. Problem is, in order to get a visa to live in most countries you cannot have a criminal record. So a few months ago I filed with the court to get the record sealed, and yesterday the judge approved it. Will take about a month for the state criminal database to remove it, and now I can start making plans to go. The way this country penalizes people the rest of their lives for 1 or 2 mistakes is sickening. I feel for you all. X2946 says, it took 6 months for my sealed records to work its way through the system. Took 2 failed attempts, but after 20 years the 3rd attempt finally came through. I never got a business off the ground and have spent the last 20 years living in a car, renting under someone else's name, or homeless because it's almost impossible to rent an apartment with a felony. Every advancement offers at work were rescinded once a felony came up on my background that they already knew about. After 20 years I'm hoping to finally start from zero and work up without it hanging over my head. In my state, if you start a business you are required to tell customers of your felony conviction. They did automatically give me my gun rights first attempt as soon as I was off probation though, so that was the state's gift to me. Other countries run an FBI check and a sealed record still shows up. But it's been long enough and a lot of countries give you automatic citizenship if you buy a house and can prove your net worth that you will be spending in the economy. Look up popular expat countries to live in and they give you a buying price for citizenship. Kytown_hustler says, congrats and good luck. Upstairs ad 8823 says, as an attorney I'm sorry you were given a felony for this BS. Sounds like a great judge. You should be very proud of yourself. Inevitable_shift1365 says, that sucks they tried to get you to turn into a snitch for a half pound of weed. I did 2 years in prison for selling an ounce of mushrooms. That was 25 years ago and now I'm looking at trying to get my record sealed as well. I'm glad you made it through. Feeling Ninja 1217 says, I'm applying for a presidential pardon soon for a federal distribution of marijuana charge that happened 10+ years ago. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Also, congratulations, this gives me hope. Deshawn 288 says, congrats man. Thindrop 9293 says, was this a conviction? Deferred probation? Donald Bucknaum says, awesome. Congratulations. Constant_courage says, don't want to be a downer, but you will still have to pay taxes even if you renounce 4 years until you get through another legal process and pay a pretty big fee. I think it is based on the COI of the country of new citizenship. Adventurous_Alps_728 says, so if I get my record sealed I can have my gun rights back. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.